Do you know who I am? I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
Listen, big deal. You got another problem. Women always figure out the truth. Always.
This is so nuts. I mean, listen to what you're saying. It's paranoid delusion. It's really sad. It's pathetic.
Am I? Or am I so sane that you just blew your mind?
That is the weirdest thing you have ever said.
It is the Al Travis Show. I'm very lucky to have our next guest on. She's Senator Susan Kent, going to give us great perspective from inside the team, what happened over the weekend. Seems like my allergies are bothering me a little bit. We'll get through this tonight. Thank you for being here, Senator. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here with you today, Al.
Thank you. Let's go back to Saturday. You're dialed in. Of course, you're friends with everybody and their brother that has ever been a senator, or most of the House members. What time? How did you become aware of what happened? What I mean by that, the rest of us, you probably saw a tweet when you got up at 7:00 or whatever. Did you get calls? How did you find out?
So this is an interesting part of the story to me. I was sick last week, and I just kind of came down with a cold or something like that. Mm-hmm. And you and I have had annoying conversations about our sinuses over the years. Yeah. And so when I get sick, it sort of latches on in a certain way. And I'd been taking meds and I had not slept well for a few nights. And so Friday night, I slept well. And I had no alarm going off on Saturday morning. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. And when I woke up at 8:15, all hell broke loose. It had broken loose in my text, as you can imagine. So I can't even. Yeah, literally woke up. And even though it had not been announced publicly, as you mentioned, I have connections and friends who have relationships with people in law enforcement. And so I literally woke up to the news that both Melissa and Mark were gone. And, to imagine how I bolted out of bed and
tell me what you do. You must have 100 emails, 100 texts, whatever. You get the one and whatever one first says, "Hey, this happened." Are you instantly answering that one, or are you going, "Oh my God," and you're just reading hundreds of texts and then saying, "Now I got to go back and talk to who first"? What is the panic that you do go through?
Panic is close to the right word. I mean, I literally, it's like I, sort of threw clothes on and put my contacts in and dashed downstairs. And I asked my husband, I was like, "Have you heard the news?" And he said, "No." And I said, "I think they killed Melissa." It was my exact phrase. And I'm sort of madly dashing around the house trying to figure out, what do I do next? And so, and as it started to sink in, and I will say here on, Wednesday morning, there's an element of this that is not fully sunk in for me.
Let's bust it down as we go, because on a similar note, I was up earlier. I get up early on weekends anyway, and you have the Woodbury Newsnet, Woodbury Internet News.
Newsnet. You were right. You had it.
I was. See, this is going to be one of those things the rest of my life. I will always say it backwards. I know it's right, but I think I'm always wrong, so I'll switch it around to make sure I'm wrong. It's okay. Yeah. I was given a link very early on that something's up, and it's this Crime Watch Minnesota. It's an X thing. I didn't subscribe, don't follow, but okay. It might be the good part of the internet. And what I mean by that was, at least these people, we hear that 2 people have been shot. We will get more as it comes.
Right.
Now you start looking on the news and the rest, and they're all waiting for validation and all this. So there was an element that many people knew earlier than the bulk. Right. But I get up and, like you, now what? Get dressed, and then John Hoffman, Senator Hoffman, I consider him a friend. I mean, nothing is for me. I know her. She's on the show a couple times. Great gal. But she wouldn't know me if I walked in a cocktail party. We're not tight. Hoffman and I have had cigars. We've eaten to dinner. We've gone. I love John. Yeah. So now what do you do? Right. I'm an idiot. Tell me how wrong I am. I just text, "Are you okay?" Mm-hmm. Now, I knew he wasn't going to email back. I mean, he's in the middle of stuff, but I want him to know I thought of him. Right. And then, well, crap. What about Abler? What about and all these other people that have been on my show and have done the thing?
Right.
I'm texting it as I'm doing it. Are you okay? Are you good? Tell me you're good. I'm thinking to myself, they're getting hundreds of thousands. The Susan Kents are getting them. Maybe I'm adding to the pillar of issues. Right. But the last thing you know, I think that I wasn't thinking of them.
Right.
And I got a hold of one who actually called back and then said, yeah, a cop has already been in my house and they got a guy at the door. So by 8:30-ish, when you're up, we know this is political, right? I mean, both of the shootings have happened.
Yeah.
So take me from there. People start getting back to you. You spend all Saturday on the phone.
So,
right?
Yeah. And I will say that in my early message, because, law enforcement at the Hortman's home quickly figured out, they knew that Mark and Melissa were gone. Yeah. They found the manifesto. They knew the names, so a lot of that was in my first texts.
Okay.
So I kind of had there were still questions and there people were saying, no, I hear this, I hear that. And so there were, the specifics of it were still a little up in the air, but the broad outlines were made clear to me from a very credible source very early on. Yeah. And then the timing was I started to see, some legislators posting on social media, I am safe, the police from X department are here. Yeah. I reached out to my locals and just said, this is horrible. I'm with you. Anything I can do to help, whatever, take care of yourself, whatever. And so it just, the day went on like that. And,
how quickly do you get through the feelings? Will you share this with me? I don't want to make you
go back.
I mean, what is the feeling by noon? Are you, sad? I only know 3 names of feelings. What were you at noon when now we know that the guy's running and the police are after him. So when they're not, senators got cops. When do you relax enough to say, okay, now the global thing and my friend died?
Well, and that's the thing. There's an element of that still hasn't happened for me yet. That's what I mean. Okay. So I was, and I went and had a beer with some friends Saturday night, and we just were sort of telling stories, and I want to say from the outset, I was elected at the same time John Hoffman was. We served together. We worked together on a number of issues and served on the committees, and that I know no hope. I kept thinking,
for folks who don't, that's his wife and his daughter. Sorry.
And his daughter. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. And, I remember when Hope would come and testify on bills when she was a teenager, and she's had, ongoing health issues. And, I know how hard John and Yvette have fought for her care. Yeah. And as an extension of their experience, turn that into their fight for students with disabilities, people with disabilities across the board. And I just knew from the way this was being reported, it was like Hope was the one who placed the 911 call. I'm having chills thinking about it. Right. So it's like all of this is going on. I intellectually know that Melissa and Mark are gone. Like I said, we talked about that Saturday night. I was, following the manhunt, looking for the guy where we've seen signs of him and what the thing was, again, it's like safety, right? Because it's like there were talks about people getting together in the political community at some point on Saturday or Sunday. And then people were like, no, you can't do that right now. Yeah. We don't know where this guy is.
I think they call it a stand down. Is that what they threw out the Champlin or in Brooklyn Park? It was a stand down order. Everybody is locked down.
Locked down. Some things. Yeah.
I've got to go to break. When we come back, if you're good with this, because you brought up the police, I don't know what I don't know until I know it. And I was absolutely astounded with what the police did. Now, the guy got away for a day and have him. Could have been better, but the point is how quickly some people knew what was going on, how quickly they acted. Can we talk about that on the other side real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, I got her. She's Senator Susan Kent on the Al Travis Show.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease! It'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
Easily offended? The Al Travis Show is not for you. The Al Travis Show. All sides are welcome.
Senator Susan Kent with us, talking just the law enforcement and how things change and for the better, or worse. I don't understand how a person can buy cop lights on a car and not be flagged. I mean, I mentioned here that I'm looking for a fedora hat, and Facebook is sending me flipping hat texts, every day. So there's some things that I'm not getting. We can do better. But the idea that the intuition of this cop, they show up at Hoffman's house, realize this is going on, and get someone over to the Hortman's house right away because this,
right,
is interesting. Great for the cops.
Right.
The sad news is it all goes on at the Hortman house, but they send a drone in. Now, I get drones. I'm not an idiot. Does every cop car have a drone? And God, I hope they do. How they got that worked out. The drone goes in and finds out he's not there. So no one else gets shot. I mean, brilliant. The idea that, and you probably know this, I know there's an emergency alert system, I'm not an idiot, but the fact they could just blow it out to this people living in Brooklyn Park and say, no leaving your house.
Right.
That's amazing. And who does that? Is it some woman at the local police department can hit the button and every cell phone I'm amazed. Thank you, Elon, if that was you.
Yeah, it is amazing. And it's not just Elon because it's, been
well, I don't know who came up with this satellite thing to pull that off. I don't know how they do that.
Right. I mean, it's, it's all in the digital thing and we're the, geofencing.
Give your, I got I buy ads. I know you can send an ad to a computer at an address, but Al happens to be driving through Brooklyn Park because I just happened to be up at that time. My cell phone says, oh, by the way, you're here. You should get huddled up. I like it. Yeah. Then I got to give the cops credit. So they closed down Brooklyn Park, realizing that, wait a minute, the guy's in a cop outfit. He could walk up to the door and say, hey, we're here to make sure. Right. So, again, another thing goes out. Two people. You don't answer the door if it's not two cops, and you call if you got any questions. Right. I'm like,
and
cops.
And then they fanned out across the state. It's like and to your point, and I got to work with the Department of Public Safety because I was on the Transportation and Public Safety Committee. So BCA, State Patrol, and then their interconnections with the locals around the state. And so the sheriff's offices and the local police departments. And I mean, like I said, I reached out to my people, and while I was texting with one of my reps, the comment was made, oh, there was a break in the text exchange, and they came back and said, I was just on the phone with Woodbury PD. It's like the response of everybody. I mean, I was reading, Brad Tabke in Shakopee, he wrote a thing on his Facebook page about his whole experience. And his family woke up to flashing lights in their driveway.
Oh, yeah.
Because the cops were there to protect them,
No, good news, bad news, because again, they found out, and I want to find out more, not on a conspiracy theory, how things went. The paper this morning has the 90 minutes in between Hoffman and Hortman's shootings, and it was fascinating. But here, other thing for the cops, because Faribault County, my county, got involved. Green Isle, not far from here, they were all, everybody, and our drone guys found him in the field. And I'm like, okay, everybody's got a local connection. Good for him. Here's, again, God working people. A month from now, that corn's 4 foot tall, and you probably aren't going to find him. There's something working here.
Yeah.
But thank goodness we have what we have. So back to you, if you're ever going to vote on this stuff again. Spend more money on this stuff. I think every law enforcement agent should have. I just never thought about it before. Is it like drones in the car?
I remember we had to create a law, and it was a little controversial, as you can imagine, to give law enforcement the ability to deploy drones in the case of missing children and, wandering adults. Yeah. And then also in these kinds of situations. But, it's like, you can imagine the people who don't want law enforcement abuse and privacy and stuff. It's like, we got to put guardrails on it.
There's two sides to every story, but you read that paper today and what these cops did with what they had. I feel safer with it. The idea that they got cops, everybody there. Now, on the other side, the intuition of the one cop to say, hey, this is get to the other people's homes. Right. But this guy stopped at 2 other people's houses. Yeah. The fact you were out of town that day, I mean, you got to be praying to God, lucky stars. Yep. And they said it was Senator Russ with this guy sitting outside her house. Yep. But a cop happens to wing by because they're all on super patrol now, and scares him off. Right. Right. What do how does Senator Russ and the other one, I don't know, how are they not hands and knees and saying, why me? The guilt, the survivor guilt thing. Is that what I want to say? How do you survive it?
I mean, I am so sure that so many of these people have a lot of really conflicting emotions. And Rest was my actual literal assigned mentor when I was a freshman.
Oh, and a great gal again. But my point is, you wake up in the morning and you she probably didn't know at the time he wasn't. She has no clue. No. And then you read in the paper, oh, by the way, cop was hanging out. He was coming to you next. And if a passing cop car doesn't go by, that's hard to take.
I can, again, when you think about the Twin Cities and the way that our communities are right next to each other. Mm-hmm. And so, I know there was a lot of confusion in the national news about why a police department from this agency was displaced. No, it happens all the time here,
Well, yeah, there aren't that many shootings in Champlin, so the other guy comes in, let's help out. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so then... those of us who live in these regional areas, we have really close relationships because we represent the same county or we represent the same school district, and we work together on regional issues and that sort of stuff. So we all sort of know where each other are relative to each other, even though we're not in the same district. And law enforcement does too, So, if this stuff comes out and they're like, oh, I'm going to go, and this was happening again all over the state. Law enforcement knew what was going on and was out there keeping an eye out. And because we didn't know if it was one guy and what,
I want to say bravo, but on the other side, I want to talk about folks in your line of work. I've used this on the show. If this happened in Phoenix, Arizona, I would have read the story. Then I would have had the big news in the state was our No King movement here. We would have read about that. And then, what's going on with Michelle's trial. All that would have been what I thought about. But the fact that it's here and my friend John was involved and my friends that are on the show, it is so personal right now. I hope this changes stuff. Can we talk about it on the other side?
You bet.
All right. I love that she's here today. She is Senator Susan Kent on the Al Travis Show.
Dust from livestock buildings can be harmful to your animals.